Well, hello with Gratitude Matt listeners. It's Matt's older brother, Bill, again, and I'm excited to be here with you today for a new episode of With Gratitude Matt. As you all remember, Matt's goal with this show is to inspire more people to practice gratitude on a regular basis. Matt showed us the way, and on his journey, he used the power of gratitude and deepened his faith, which helped him bring peace, confidence, in God's plan and prepare him for his eternal life. The purpose of today's episode is to share with the listeners several special announcements, update you on what Matt's family and friends have done the past year and a half to sustain Matt's legacy of gratitude, share with you what we've planned for the future, and thank everyone that has lifted us up in prayer. You've generously supported With Gratitude Matt, and you continue to help us live our lives with gratitude. So thank you for that. Today, I'm joined by my sister, Moira Veech. Hello and welcome, Moira. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm absolutely thrilled to be on the show today. I think you and I were two of Matt's biggest supporters, so it just kind of gives me chills to be on with you today. So a little bit about myself. I am the youngest of the 5 Moran children. I am going on 22 years of marriage to my husband, Mike. We have a 19-year-old son, Luke, and I always love sharing this with people. Matt and my husband, Mike, were dear friends before we got married, and then obviously became much closer once we were married. So that's a pretty cool story. And just a little bit about myself. I went to Ursuline Academy and played tennis at Ursuline and had an amazing 4 years there. And then went on to follow the Morans to Xavier University. And I am currently a real estate agent with Sipsey Klein. So that's just a little bit about myself. And I could go on and on if you want to talk about Matt and our relationship or.
No, I think that's great. It kind of gives the listeners a little bit of an idea, of who you are and where you fit into this family. And again, we're so glad to have you here on the show. One of the things that you were going to share a little bit about was how you and Matt had a special relationship, and I think Matt shared that with a lot of the listeners, a lot of his friends. But you're the youngest, and he was your big brother. What did that mean to you?
Oh, it's a great question. Very hard to sum it up into a few words, but I think in short, we had an incredible relationship. He was truly like a best friend to me. We shared pretty much almost everything, and I always knew that he'd be here for me no matter what the situation was, hardship, anything I was going through in life. He was there for me. He was my go-to guy. Excuse me. And I think the most beautiful thing that has come of all of this, I still feel him every single day. I feel his huge smile, his big spirit, encouraging words. And Bill, you and I know so well, most of all, his sarcasm and quick humor. So I still feel him every day.
Oh yeah, there's so many moments where you do feel that, and you're just grateful for it, and you miss him dearly. But we're going to live our lives to the best we can. And I think Matt, again, kind of borrowing my little phrase from the beginning, he did show us the way.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that we're going to shift gears here a little bit, Maura, is, when Matt passed away in August of 23, the entire Moran family, we all felt the love and support of his friends, his coworkers, his classmates, and his fellow parishioners at Nativity of Our Lord up there in Orchard Park. And the resounding message was kind of like, well, gosh, Matt helped us so much. How do we preserve his legacy and help others? Well, we had the podcast, which Matt had really given us. And that's a gift that really, it's an overused phrase, but that's a gift that keeps on giving. I mean, we can go back and we can listen to those and we can draw from those, draw strength and inspiration. And I encourage you to do that. But we're also going to go forward, with the podcast. We're going to go forward and continue this message of gratitude. So the answer became obvious, we need to continue this message of gratitude. So in response to that, I'm excited to announce, with everybody's generous support, we formed, and really it was Mary's impetus, the With Gratitude Matt Charitable Foundation. So we have 501c3 nonprofit status. And I'll just kind of give you an idea of what this foundation looks to do. Um, I'll kind of read from our stated purpose. It was formed to help fund the With Gratitude Matt podcast and focus on ways to support young people who may not have the means to engage in activities that foster their growth. We want to support them, especially those individuals who show they have the courage to be grateful. In addition, creating awareness and helping fight the fear and burden of cancer will remain close to our hearts and always a part of who we are. Matt's light, strength, and giving heart will live on in the benefactors of the With Gratitude Matt Foundation. So we set up the foundation, and that'll help us continue what Matt started. So Moira, you were a big part of this too. But why don't you share with the listeners how this foundation came to life?
Absolutely. I think it starts with, well, obviously it starts with Matt, but I think it starts with Mary. Mary, she really saw an opportunity to help provide support and encouragement to young people who might not otherwise be able to experience gratitude because of a certain circumstance in their life or financial hurdle. Um, I think in addition, we always feel Matt's message of gratitude in his 71 amazing episodes of this podcast. Um, they We wanted to keep the podcast going up, obviously. Matt showed us what it meant to be a friend. In return, the support from our family and friends, along with with Matt's family and friends, has been unbelievable and humbling. Matt's family and friends are committed to continuing to educate through the With Gratitude Matt podcast and creating experiences that cultivate gratitude, foster meaningful connections, build strong relationships, and continue to pave the way for a clear and promising future. Because of everyone's generosity, we can help make a difference. We cannot thank you enough.
Well, that's great, and thank you for Mary, really, because she's the one that took the lead on that, and we just followed. But in order to get this all started, we needed a founding donor, and why don't you kind of introduce um, who that is and what that means to us?
Well, that's a resounding thank you, and we are beyond fortunate enough to have Daymark Wealth Partners as our founding sponsor. Thank you to our dear friend Bob Prangley and the entire Daymark family for their generous support. I believe, Bill, I think it was you who approached Bob, and when you asked him why he decided to help with the With Gratitude Matt Foundation, he he said, "We listen intently to the inspiration of WGM. We reflect and align with living an active legacy and service to others." Beautifully
Yeah,
said, Bob, and a true heartfelt thank you from the entire Moran family to Bob
yep,
Prangley and the Daymark community.
big debt of gratitude to Bob and the Daymark team. So we're kind of moving through some announcements. We've got a few others to make, and the next one that we're really excited about, and this all came about through the great efforts of Matt's St. X classmate, Mike Need. And a lot of the listeners will know Mike because he's kind of the brains behind this operation. He's the man behind the screen, so to speak, and he makes this show sound good, look good, and very professional. He writes a lot of the show notes, and but he also helped us greatly enhance our online home for With Gratitude Matt in withgratitudematt.com. So I encourage you to check out the newly improved website, and it just has a wealth of information, plus is a great resource for all of those who want to keep up with the podcast and any announcements of what the foundation is doing next. Um, it shares Matt's story there. It shares our vision, our values, and our mission. So it's very comprehensive. and it has easy to navigate. So I really encourage you to go to withgratitudematt.com. It has a catalog of all 78 podcast episodes. It has all of the show notes, links to the video and audio episodes throughout the various streaming services, and it contains all of Matt's blogs, which can give you an opportunity to kind of review and go through these powerful messages and the lessons and the stories. Um, you can also sign up to receive announcements of events and announcement of new podcasts that have been released. And with respect to the website, you can even make an online donation. There's a place to do that to support what we're trying to do here. So thanks to everybody that made that possible, and especially Mike Need, who was kind of the architect behind that. So really, really cool stuff. And I know, Maura, you had a chance to look at that, and I like it because it contains really, it's a one-stop shop to kind of go through. And if you're looking to go back and listen to some of the episodes, it's really makes it easy, right? I mean, didn't you find it that way?
I think it is so user friendly, and the best part to me is you open the page and it's a picture of Matt, and it just makes you smile, and it's just
Yeah,
you can go through all the just like you said, click on the links, you can listen to all of them, listen to a few of them. It's really really smooth, and it it's bright, kind of puts a smile on your face and makes you want to dig a little deeper.
yeah, good stuff. So we'll keep moving with our theme and our goals here for this episode. We've got a lot of them. So, but one of the things that we said earlier was there were so many communities that Matt was a part of, and one of them uh, was Nativity of Our Lord, and the other was Saint X, Xavier University, his alma maters. He had his family and his friends, of course, and his coworkers. Um, but this kind of came about organically, and it really, I give you credit more because, you know, when all this, you know, when Matt passed, there's a lot of uncertainties. And how do you honor him, but also how do we continue to move on and live our lives so that we can be the best versions of ourselves? And one of the communities that you connected us with was St. Xavier and through Father Baum. So how did that kind of come about? And maybe even take a step back, and how are you familiar, or were you familiar with Father Baum?
Yeah, of course. Like you said, well, Luke was a senior at St. X High School at the time, and I was on the Mothers Club board. So Father Baum was, we were fortunate enough to have him, serve our masses for Mothers Club events, and we just organically formed a very nice relationship. So he was a great guy, and he then in turn, I feel it was you, me, and Brian who went and met with him to prepare for the memorial mass that we were going to have for Matt in October of 23. So Father Baum celebrated the mass in the Holy Companions Chapel for Matt, and then we followed that with a reception in the St. X cafeteria. Father Baum was actually clearly was one of the Jesuits at St. Xavier High School when Matt was a student there, and he was actually Matt's Kairos leader for the Kairos retreat back in the spring of 1987. And Father Baum, to quote Father Baum, he said that St. Xavier was proud to call Matt an alum and celebrate his life because he lived his life for and with others. He exemplified what it meant to strive for the Magis, always challenging himself, growing his faith, and serving his family and others. We are truly grateful to Father Baum and St. Xavier for helping us with this celebration. Sadly, Father Baum was called to his heavenly home in August of 24, nearly a year after Matt had passed. We are comforted knowing that they are together in their eternal homes. And Father Baum was an amazing, amazing man, and he and Matt had a wonderful relationship, and they're together again.
Yeah, it was very clear that those two had certainly known each other while Matt was in high school and Father Baum was a young Jesuit at St. X. But one of the things that, they reconnected later, and it was kind of neat. And and they, and I don't even, I think Matt wanted to bring a guest on, Father Michael Graham, the former
Mhm.
president of Xavier University, and Father Baum was the connection that kind of made that happen. So Father Baum and Matt had a little Zoom call, and Matt had his little Kairos cross behind him, and Father Baum could see that in the camera and said, "Matt, I see that you have your Kairos cross." And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "You gave this to me." And he goes, "Matt, we gave that to the Kairos person that we felt exemplified most of what we were trying to accomplish during that retreat." So, and by the way, Father Baum handmade that cross. So it was great. We would have never known that story, but for Father Baum. And now we know the origins of the Kairos cross. So it's
Wow.
pretty cool. So yeah, very fun.
Incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. So one of the other things that, I mentioned before was Matt's bond with Nativity of Our Lord. And that was such a special place for Matt. And, you know, one of the things that they always do each winter is they have the Joe DeMarco basketball tournament, and it was exciting. In 2024, they designated and dedicated that uh, tournament to Matt. So that was pretty cool that Nativity did that, and I know, Maura, you've had a chance to get up to Nativity in Orchard Park and kind of maybe share with the listeners what that school and what that parish, meant to Matt and what it means to our family, really, going forward.
Well, definitely. Yeah, we've had quite a few opportunities to visit Orchard Park, and I think the biggest thing I'd say is they have welcomed us, the entire Moran family and the Veech family, in, and it is truly it's a beautiful place, and they certainly loved Matt so much, and they are so supportive of Mary and the girls. And I would just say, just right from the get-go, when Matt and Mary moved back to Orchard Park, Matt embraced the entire community. He became fast friends with the pastor, Father Jim, and then the associate pastor, Father Peter. Father Peter Bessie was actually one of Matt's guests on the episode number 12 of the With Gratitude Matt podcast.
Does that
And
surprise you that Matt threw himself into the community at all?
not at all. I mean,
Not at all.
it's not at all. And
So, what did the school do? Like, you and I had the privilege of being up there. What did they do to kind of, you know, that really was we were taken away by this, but they did it last spring, and you and I and my wife and your husband Mike were able to attend.
I mean, what an incredible weekend. It was a fun weekend. It was an emotional weekend, but the Nativity community honored Matt at their annual gala, and it was incredible. And when I say honored him, it was, I mean, they had slideshows, they had printed up programs, and special thanks to the principal, Colleen Scott. She did an amazing job honoring and highlighting Matt's life. And then, of course, Matt's good friend and now our good friend, Greg Flammer, did an incredible job speaking to Matt and what his life was all about. He was a formerly coached with Matt, and they became fast friends, and it was just a beautiful evening, and actually left all four of us just in awe. And actually, though, kind of felt good just knowing the girls are going to be just great. They are surrounded by love, and everything that Matt stood for is in that community.
Yeah, it was a special night. I I r- I will share kind of a more humorous side to this. So Mary asked me to speak, and I was very happy to do so. Now the problem was, so Father Jim, the pastor, came up. He gave an amazing prayer, and then Colleen Scott spoke, and she was incredible. Greg Flammer gave a tribute to Matt that was unbelievable and just so powerful. And then Mary spoke and brought the house down. Then they had me speak. So it was kind of like why do you have all these Hall of Famers speak? And the lesson there is don't be the last person to speak after all of these wonderful messages. So the only thing I could do was thank them and sit down, and they were ready to have
You did a
a good
great job. You did a great job.
and they're ready to have a good evening and raise some money for a wonderful school. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's pretty cool stuff. We were up there, you know, again recently, and one of the things that the school did was they now give away to an eighth grade graduate at graduation the gratitude award in Matt's memory. And you had a special experience up there, actually a couple weeks ago. Why don't you
Yeah.
share that with the listeners?
Yeah, so we went up, to see, Matt's 8th grade daughter, in her performance of Beauty and the Beast, which, Bill, I kind of giggle, I think you and I are still humming some of the tunes, as we drive along. It was an incredible performance, but I was very fortunate enough Mary and I were actually taking tickets as the guests entered the gym, and I was fortunate enough to meet the 2024, recipient of the gratitude award, and just totally took me by surprise. It was just, "Oh, this is Moira, Matt's sister," and she came around, kinda gave me, like, a half hug, and she just was so appreciative, and then her mother came up and spoke to me and just said how much they loved Matt, and she was so honored that her daughter received this award, and I think that kinda leads into I wanna speak on behalf of our entire family. Whenever anyone has something to say about Matt or a story, please share it. We appreciate it. It brings us so much joy to hear everyone's stories because pretty much everyone has a Matt story. Um, and it's great to see that he's still touching so many people's lives and influencing them. And even if you think it's a silly little story, it makes us happy. So we welcome that and we appreciate all the stories shared.
Well, that's well said. And then kind of keeping through with our theme here, I mean, the support and love just kept coming. And then our brother Brian was inspired to bring the family and friends together for a golf outing. And this was, a lot of the listeners will, some of the older listeners will remember that, when Matt, Brian, and I were younger, we would have, we'd throw together the Moran Golf Classic. And we had a good day of fun. And this was that, but 10 times better. And Brian was inspired to kind of recreate that. And, you know, it was just it was a great day. And so we had that last August. Um, and
It's a
a special thanks.
sweltering hot day, Bill.
Oh, yeah. I think we actually was in last July, but it was the hottest day of the summer, I think, bar none, but everybody had a blast. And so it was really fun to be together and kind of celebrate that. It wouldn't have been possible without you, and it wouldn't have been possible without St. X's Kara Hester. I mean, my goodness, what she did to help us. I could go on and on. We could do a whole podcast on that. So a very deep debt of gratitude to Kara for what she did and helping us pull off this. We had 110 golfers. We had many families and friends join us from all over. I'd be remiss if I started naming them because I would forget all the different locales where everybody came from, but it was pretty cool. And I'm excited to say that the net proceeds of the golf outing were donated to St. Xavier High School to a fund in Matt's name. So very fitting and very appropriate and very much appreciated. So um, shifting gears here a little bit. I mean, again, Matt's breadth was very wide. And again, we're taking a look back, and a little later we're going to look forward. But um, Dana-Farber treated Matt, and they were incredible. And Matt would make that commute from Orchard Park in Boston and back regularly. And he connected with the entire staff. And as many of you know, Matt and I connected with Boston College linebacker Bryce Steele while we were in the waiting room at Dana-Farber. And then Bryce shared his powerful story on With Gratitude Matt in episode 75. And, the family wanted to recognize what Dana-Farber had done for us and what they had done for Matt. So through the help of Matt's good friend, Michael Reevy, we were able to connect with the people at Dana-Farber, specifically the Jimmy Fund, which is their big fund to help fund cancer research and help those live with cancer. And so Michael connected us, and I'm happy to say that there is now a donor page for Matt and for Bryce Steele, um, at the Jimmy Fund, but also they did a feature. The Jimmy Fund has a blog, and last summer they did a feature on Matt and Bryce's story, and it was really very fitting, a great tribute to two amazing people, and really kind of, Matt would always say, "Be present," and I think that was another example of that, and we kind of went over that in Bryce's episode, but I think it's worth reminding everybody of that beautiful friendship that started in the waiting room at Dana-Farber. So, another special moment that we experienced this past year was that connection with Dana-Farber and the Jimmy Fund donor page. So, Maura, you and Matt kind of had your own lingo on a few things, but one of them was kind of cool. Whenever you would experience a special moment and you feel the presence of a loved one, what did you guys call that? Well, I know what you called it, but just share that with the listeners.
Matt and I we might have made up our own words, so we had our own lingo. But no, this is a good one. God winks, and I think you and I we talk all the time, Bill, and we talk. I think we receive so many God winks from Mom, Dad, Matt, and I think to highlight probably my most powerful God wink from Matt was, this is kind of hard to get through, but we received the dreaded call from the hospital that Dad was in critical condition.
Yeah, and I'll help you out here just to
Okay.
set the tone. You don't have to set the tone, but because I know this will be an emotional
Yeah.
one. You shared this with me and we both were crying earlier. So, I don't expect us to have a dry eye after this one. But anyway,
Okay.
so just for the listeners, last summer, Dad got sick and he was in the ICU, and we're obviously optimistic, but also praying that God's will, and just hold Dad's hand through this journey. And by the way, everybody that is listening to this has experienced very similar experiences like this. This is not unique to us, but we're just sharing it so that you can
Yeah.
maybe learn or get some inspiration from this. But so, taking a step back, everybody on this that knows Matt knew that his number one favorite song, bar none, was Kenny Rogers' The Gambler, right? I mean, they knew that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I hope everybody uh, experiences the joy when they listen to The Gambler, as we do. So, it was his song. And just to kind of bring it back, he would always perform it if he was out with friends. It could have been at a party or a bar, that he was known to go to those things. And he would ask that they cue up Kenny Rogers' The Gambler. He would sing it, and by the end of the song, everybody would join in, and it was great. In fact, I remember telling the story about when he did this. I wasn't there, but when he did this with family or with some friends over in Ireland, and he had an old Irish pub singing The Gambler. But so just to give you the context, Dad's in the ICU, and you can kind of take it from there. So we get the call.
Yeah. So we get the call. So of course you know, we all talked, and I'm white knuckling it, driving up 71, just kind of in a zone in my own little world, just thinking of Dad, and I'm just about to get off Pfeiffer Road, and just I look up, and it was a moment. Thank God I had it. I looked up, and there was the most gorgeous sunrise I've ever seen in Cincinnati. So I look up and it's a beautiful sunrise, and lo and behold, what song's on the radio? The Gambler. And it just it was like I was driving, but I just literally stopped in my tracks, and I thought I could almost physically feel Matt's hand on my hand saying, "It's all gonna be okay. Mom and I are waiting for Dad." And it just I don't know how I got from that point to the parking lot, but I got there, and it really it gave me such peace, and I wasn't scared. It was just like, gosh, they've got him. And it was just a beautiful nudge. And I think, like you said, everyone experiences loss. And I think it's just up to us to actually, as Matt said, be present and take that moment and really reflect on that. Like, that was a beautiful moment in a very sad time, but I felt Matt was guiding me
Right. No,
and
I,
helping.
I couldn't have said it better myself more. And thanks for sharing that. And I just, yeah, I mean, it was so powerful. And I remember that morning. I can't tell you that I heard The Gambler, but I sure as heck saw that sunrise, and I sure as heck was there with Dad, and so was his entire family. So it was. I think we have a friend, a mutual friend, and she calls those moments brutal. They're both brutal and beautiful at the same time. So yeah. So, but the blessings continue, and as we continue to live our lives in in gratitude, and what else have you seen, and what else have you experienced that kind of that you really value and that you're grateful for?
Oh gosh, that's an easy one. I would say probably my greatest blessing and one that I'm most grateful for is the fact that Mary and I have just become so incredibly close and closer since Matt's passing. And likewise with Angelina and Caitlin, I just adore those girls and um, treasure our relationship. And it gives me peace, comfort just to see Matt in each of those three girls. It's, you know, there's different characteristics that I see in each of them. It's really warms my heart, and it makes me so happy to see him live on in their lives. And to say that he's proud of them is an absolute understatement.
Right.
Mary Mary is just one of the strongest people I've ever met and known. And she continues to keep, to keep Matt alive, remembering stories, reminding the girls what he lived by, and just, pushing them each day to go after it with everything they do. So
Yeah.
he's definitely proud, and so are we. They're pretty amazing.
Yeah. It's inspiring to be with them, and it's also just really special to uh, just be a part of that. And I really can't thank the girls enough for leading the way. And
And Bill, I think, also we have to say, thank Mary for continuing to keep us so involved in our lives.
agreed,
Yeah,
no
and I
doubt
think
about it. Yeah,
so. So yeah.
yeah. So, uh, I kind of now I guess it's my time to share a little bit, and I don't. Again, keeping with the nativity of our Lord Gala, I don't know if I can follow that story, but I'll try. Um, you know, really, there are so many times in the day where I think of Matt or Mom or Dad, or really any of our loved ones or friends and family that we've lost, and I really know that they're there. I know that they're present. I know that they're with us. Obviously not in body, but definitely in spirit. And um, and the moments are countless, and they could occur, you know, anytime during the day. But there are times where that I experience, and is special and unique to Matt, and it's like, gosh, he's the only one that would get this silly joke or this humor or the humor in this experience. And it just and there's countless of them. I can't even, you know, tell you how many there are where I'm just like, and I'll just kind of be like, "Well, Matt, that was pretty funny," and just have a conversation or at least talk to Matt. And so I still do that, and I'm glad I do that with mom and dad, and I do that with a lot of our loved ones that are uh, in their heavenly home. But that to me is just another way of remembering Matt. But kind of getting back to the gambler and how beautiful that was, and uh, y- you know one of the things in kind of keeping with that theme, when we had the golf outing, you and Kara had this event planned and the whole golf committee, and there's too many people on the committee to name, and so grateful for all their help. But we're we're scrambling, and we're like, well, we need one more thing. What? So John Reevy comes up and he's got a huge basket full of ball markers with the refrain from The Gambler printed on them, with the With Gratitude Matt logo, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So it just kinda yeah, that hit me pretty strong, and I know it did you too. So brought a song always brings a smile to my face, and just seeing that ball mark did the same thing. So, um but I will tell you that this past year, there was one moment where it hit me, and I was listening to Matt's favorite artist, who happened to be John Denver, and, the song started playing, and I heard, John Denver's familiar voice, familiar melody, um, but I'd never heard this song, and I'm like, "Okay, well, I kinda like this," and part of the refrain was, "Joy was just the thing he was raised on. Love was just the way to live and die." And I thought, "Oh, wow, that's Matt. Like, he was raised with joy and he lived with love in his heart." I was like, "Okay, wow." So I look at my phone and I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to favorite this." Well, I go to favorite it, and I must have missed the opening line, but the song's name is Matthew. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe this. I'd never heard this song." And I was even more amazed at the song's title. So I immediately like get my phone out, share it with my buddy, my good friend Bob Clare. And Bob, he's like a music encyclopedia. John Denver's one of his favorite artists, and we would always banter back and forth on trivia, music trivia, and those kinds of things. And I said, "Bob, have you ever heard this song?" And he was just as amazed as I, and he's like, "No." So
Wow.
that was a big God wink for me. Matt was
That's
telling us,
awesome.
yeah, he was there in spirit, and like you said, everything was gonna be all right. So
That is great. Bill, you might not remember this. It probably wasn't your first concert, but John Denver was my first concert. Mom, I think we packed some Subway sandwiches and we went to Riverbend, and that was my claim to fame, my first concert.
well, that's a good one to go to. Good
Yeah,
old John Denver. So really cool, and what a great song. So go out there and listen to Matthew. You'll love
that's
it.
that's a
So
gorgeous song.
yeah. So we're getting kinda close to our, time here, Maura, and, before we wrap up the episode, there's, kind of a lesson learned category, or at least topic, and, I don't know, like, maybe if you could share, you know, some of the lessons that you've learned, throughout the past year and a half, and kinda break those down for the listeners.
Yeah, gosh, I mean, lessons learned. Uh, I think, and actually, Bill, you spoke of this at mom's funeral. It's, show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are. And Matt chose wisely. His friends have shown up, um,
Yeah,
and
pretty
continue to
powerful.
show up. So, uh, I think just, I don't know if that's a lesson I learned, but I just think it's just something I've gained. And I think also, you know, through our loss, I think it's we have to be positive and move forward, and as Matt would want us to. But it hurts so much just because it was so good, you
Right.
know? I mean,
Yeah.
Bill, we were blessed with the best. So
Right.
uh just, hope and pray that we continue to strive high and make them proud, and and carry on their legacy.
Yeah, I can kind of, um, really well, I can't say it better, but I'll try to build on that, kind of like, and you and I talked about this, and we've talked about this with Megan and Brian and all of our in-laws and family, all our close-knit family, and, how blessed we were to be raised by mom and dad. And, we were taught that our education was a journey of a lifetime. And, I feel that way, and it should be. And we're still learning and still challenging ourselves, and we will always do that. And we, will continue to do that. And I will. So the thing it's maybe not as easy for me to articulate, but I'll try to, that I learned was, when I was growing up, we were taught a lot of truths. And one of them was to trust in God's plan. And I don't know, and kind of keeping with Matt's um, message of being present and keeping your eyes open and open to growth and everything like that. I will tell you that last year and a half has done that. And I saw, but before that, I saw that in the way, you know, mom, Matt, and dad live their lives, live their lives of faith. So we saw it in action. And now it's our turn to do that. We need to live that. And, you know, um, it's interesting. You and I kind of outlined this, what we were going to try to talk about today. And I was kind of coming at a little bit of a mind block. And I, look down at my shelf in my office, and I see this book, and here it is. It's Lessons from the School of Suffering. A young priest with cancer teaches us how to live. Father Jim Willig. And I'm like, well, this book has been sitting there for, probably 2 years. Dad had given it to me. I never opened it. I never really looked at it, but I thought, well, I'm sure there's a few lessons in here. Maybe that's what the title is. And just to give the listeners some context, Father Jim Willig was a dear friend of my mom and dad. His family was they're Cincinnati icons. He was from a large West Side Catholic family. He became a diocesan priest, and then was diagnosed with renal cell carcinoma. Go figure. And he passed away, I believe, in 2001 or shortly thereafter. And he wrote this book while he was experiencing cancer. And so I thought, well, maybe there's some lessons in here. And I guess probably rather than me, you know, I'll give Father Willig the credit here, but I guess I saw them in Dad. And one of the things that he says was suffering can be a blessing. And I was like, what? I don't know if I would have understood that um 2.5, 3 years ago, but now I do, because I saw it. So thank you,
Yeah.
Matt and mom and everybody, dad, that helped open my eyes to this. The big
Those are
one.
such strong words, Bill, but dad's proud that you finally read the book.
Well, it was a light read, but it was pretty powerful. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So, and then the other, this one hit me really hard, and if you go back to one of Matt's um, previous guests, Jessica Hanna, blessed by cancer, she she also articulates this as well, and it's our purpose in life is to prepare for the eternal life. And I was like, oh boy, okay, wow, that's a big one. So uh, that's a wake up call, and for me, it has been. And so I think moving forward, that's what I strive for. And kind of getting back to what Father Baum said about Matt was he strived for the Magus. So that's another way of saying it. A couple other lessons here, and then I'll stop talking and stop reading. But um, and this one hit me. And if excuse me, Dr. Roy Von Tama talked about this, and it was, even if you're not physically cured, we can heal spiritually, and that's ultimately what's most important. So, and I remember Dr. Roy talking about that, And that was so powerful to me. And it's in his book that he shared with us, Healing Before You're Cured. But, and the last one, and this is what gives me peace, is Father Willig said, in trusting and surrendering to God, God gives us the gift of peace. And haven't you felt that, Maura?
Absolutely.
The
Could
gift
not
of
agree with you
peace?
more.
Yeah. So I'm, in closing, and Maura, you're familiar with Matt's familiar closing, and we haven't really changed it. And if it's good, why not? So Matt always reminded us to be present and to do three things every day to live our life to the fullest. Find something you're grateful for, regardless of how powerful the storm is. Be present to those that you are with. Pay attention to what you're feeding your mind, your body, and soul. More, I can't thank you enough for doing this. There's no way I could have done this without you.
Oh,
And
Bill,
really, yeah,
you're
it
doing an
really,
awesome job, and I'm honored that you had me on. So thank you.
thanks. No, and
Love you, big brother.
love you, sis. Thanks so much. I'd give the listeners my nickname for you, but I don't know if I want to get that out in the public. So that's just yours and mine.
We have
So
to have some secrets.
we'll keep that together. But I will encourage the listeners, go to withgratitudematt.com, check it out, listen to some past podcasts, stay tuned for new ones and exciting announcements. With Gratitude Matt listeners, until the next time, find the courage to be grateful. Godspeed, my friends.